All right, live 10 o'clock. Yep, it is 10 o'clock. I checked this time fully on time, aka old Air India moment for us. Air India, if you want to come on board as a sponsor, that's great. Before I bring in Abeer Kapoor, I'll quickly rant for a second about something that happened yesterday, which is India showed what we call testicular fight. A fight through testicles. For me, I don't want to keep putting down T20 and acting like this Brahmin who's always looking down on other forms and sounding like those elders in the house, which I've become. But I'll just say one thing: when you see attritional batting in a cricket match, and this is for cricket lovers who consider themselves cricket lovers, when you see back to the wall fighting, I mean, real sense of character. I mean, 40 odd overs, one guy's got a hamstring pull, the other guy, he's got 4 centuries on docile wickets, but he's not really a batsman. The two of them, Ashwin and Hanuma Vihari, I bow to you. And from today, I have called myself Hanuma Ashwin. By the way, the N is silent. It's more Hanuma. This is Telugu style, more than Hanuman, North style. So let's just get that clear. Show respect, get the name right, everything else. Fabulous. I think with all the bad news, whether the vaccine is there or not, the corruption charges will never go from all states as well as center. Let's just for a second look at a holy moment in India's. I mean, this is Australia. This is the place where you never win. We just about won one in the 2 years back, and now to actually stand there and save a test match, 160 odd balls for 10 odd runs. I mean, that is character. Fabulous. Hanuma, I salute you. I'm sending 11 rupees in a white envelope to you and 11 rupees to Ashwin. Please, both of you, from my side, all I can say is you made us proud. Now, these are the stories I would love to talk about. But in the meantime, speaking of storyteller, we've got a man who I'd like to introduce as everything, because he's got too much talent to appear on this podcast. So I apologize for putting him on. Not that the other guests have been bad, but I mean, this is really raising the bar. So I don't know who we'll get tomorrow. It makes no sense. He's from the Azim Premji University alumni, and that's the least interesting part of him. Of course, if Azim wants to sponsor the show, we'll change that. Abeer Kapoor is a journalist with a pronounced flair for scaling murky waters. Obviously, I'm reading this, so I'll avoid it because it'll embarrass him. But he's out with a new book called The Most Notorious Jailbreakers, which you're going to talk about right now. Before that, we have to understand that he's also a guy who invented some sort of, maybe he'll tell us about it. The first game, is it? The first game, political style game, which you can play online. And of course, there's all kinds of other things. Journalist, he's got Z security because of his views. He's slightly left of center. In fact, if you just sit a little bit to that side, I think you'll make your point. So let's welcome Abeer Kapoor with music which we don't have.
Hi.
Hi,
So,
hi.
uh, so lots of corrections to my bio. First off,
Oh, Jesus. Oh,
that's,
Christ. I hate this
so,
show. This is the worst
yeah,
show. No, really, this
yeah.
is the worst show. Huh. Tell me.
So it wasn't a digital game; it was a board game. Um, and
Okay,
I
that's
would
my
just
mistake. It's written board game.
so I'm going to text someone to also bring it in, which is the
Oh,
poll.
so that's, let me
Uh,
explain this: BOARD, not BORED. It's a
yeah,
board
yeah.
game. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah. So it's a board game, and I did write a book. So that was the only correction. Murky Waters is pretty cool. I really like that. Like when that was really really cool. So yeah. So I'm a journalist, a board game designer, and an author. And telling interesting stories is what I do and what I try to do.
And let's also mention that you write for things like The Wire, Scroll, and Quartz, who are on the top three list of government. I want to perhaps not allow them to be published list, which is always
Yeah,
interesting. It shows your courage under fire, unlike, say, mine, because we always criticize the government, but then we toe the line. I have Amit
yeah,
Doshi who will come in later. We've
yeah.
kept him right of center. We've got you left of center. I try to
Oh,
stay
so
center. And luckily, Silverie's of that age where he gives a fuck about politics,
So you
which is
need to put
probably
that
the best.
sign like Times Now, right? With government,
Yes,
against
yeah.
government.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe it should be color bars, like
yeah,
orangey,
yeah.
whitey, whatever, going
Yeah,
towards,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, red for you guys. Well, you said you're a leftist, we'll come to that. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So first, where's your Delhi accent, yaar? Oh, I don't know,
Oh,
sing song to nahi hai, yaar. What kind of language is this, yaar?
I'm unfortunately not Punjabi. I am,
Damn you! You're
yeah.
Kapoor from UP.
Yes, I'm a Kapoor from
I know
UP.
another one, Mohan Kapoor, actor,
Oh,
Saap Siri.
he's my cousin.
Huh? Really? Because he
No.
explained the whole thing to me. He was very angry. I'm not Punjabi. Just because I'm Kapoor. Give me a full
Yeah,
lecture
yeah,
over 7 drinks once. Yeah.
yeah. But he's not my cousin.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're
So you
Kapoors
don't have
from.
the Punjabi twang. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
we don't have the Punjabi twang.
A shout out to
Um,
Mohan. I haven't seen him in. Is he okay? I haven't seen him in years.
and yeah, Mohan, I hope you're fine. And if you have a story to tell, I will tell it.
Good drinker,
Uh,
bro. Good drinker.
oh man,
Those were the
yeah.
days. Anyway, back to you, Abir. Sorry. So why? Not to put it down, But today,
Yeah.
less and less people want to be serious journalists in the sense of that's your passion. Let's call it social writing almost. Where you're looking
Yeah.
at society and you're from a platform of not anything else but to try and understand what's going right and wrong. As against those people who come in front of the camera and want to just spread, let's increase their following on Insta and become stars or work in
Yeah.
films
Yeah.
later, etc. But you're a breed which is dying or almost extinct, which is the hardcore, true blue journalist. So how come?
Well, I come from a family of journalists, so it was something that I always wanted to do. It was something I grew up around. But so the crisis of journalism is as much the sort of robbing of the spine, but also as much as the crisis of the business model, which is also in many ways, if you remove the money from the ecosystem, the spine will follow. As Winston Churchill once said, if you grab them by the balls, their hearts and minds will follow. So journalism is yeah.
Depends on what kind of pressure you're applying. Sometimes it could just be pressure. But yeah, go on.
Yeah. So basically journalism finds itself in a situation where you have reducing newsrooms, you have like a lot of back and forth, the polarization that is happening, and within all of this the story dies, where you can go to the people and talk, because at the end of the day, journalists are just a conduit for telling a story. We should not have no bias. We should have a little bit
Correct.
bias in the sense of what stories you choose to tell, but the social purpose of the journalist was is absolutely necessary. So mistake I made, fundamentally, ये मेरी गलती है कि I read a lot of, like, fantastical books as a child. I read lots of, like, the good guy wins. कि Harry Potter पढ़ ली, Lord of the Rings पढ़ ली, like you read a lot of detective
The
fiction.
fantasy ideals, what you're saying, which is just not real
Yeah,
life.
which is not real life, so it sort of colors the way you start approaching. So I was like, मैं क्रांति करूंगा. I am going to write this story, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. So the story that
So
that
you
I wrote,
became a
which was,
revolutionary because you didn't like Harry Potter. I just let's put it in
no,
perspective.
no, I loved Harry Potter too much. So there's
A
a
man
study
in
which says,
glasses should not have too much power. For Microsoft comes
yeah.
to mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we so even say, for example, the story that I did on the UP encounters, which was carried off in The Wire, was that we were looking at how these police wallahs were just going and encountering a bunch of
Murder.
young people,
Yeah.
murder, and all the FIRs that they were writing were copy paste. So there's this one police wala saying, "Acha bhai, dusra wala." They're basically cheating
Change
off
the
the
name. You
FIR.
change the name and you copy paste everything.
Yeah, so
This
they're
is like
basically
my mark
cheating.
sheet in 10th standard. Fair enough.
Yeah, they're cheating of different police thanas and their FIR. So imagine one subedar who's really earnest about his FIR is just writing like this and like, nahi, main nahi dunga. So like,
Namak ka
so
daroga, Premchand. I remember that
yeah,
story.
yeah,
You're one guy against the system. Oh, that's hilarious, really. Yeah.
yeah. So that was something. Then we looked at rioting. So the government of India is, so it's really interesting how definitions come up, right? Like the government of India will suddenly build up this new definition of agrarian riots. Kal nahi tha, aaj hai. Like, right, so now you want to acquire land, and the government of India has suddenly made farmers, um, you've created legal principle to allow firing on farmers. So section 144, firing is happening, and you have a 9,000%
So this
increase.
is spin doctoring law
This is
in a
spin
sense.
doctoring law,
Hmm.
and that shows in the NCRB.
This is
And
also
then
not just a BJP thing. This has been going on for years in
yeah,
our
yeah,
society about how you take the law and make it yours, in a
yeah, the
sense.
British were excellent at it.
Ah,
The
okay.
British,
So we were taught
yeah,
well. We were
we were
homeschooled.
taught very well.
Yeah, yeah.
We learned English very well. We learned spin doctoring very well, and a disregard for the rule of law.
And bureaucracy.
Top class.
We are now the
And
top
bureaucracy.
bureaucracy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like sometimes I need to take 4 permissions to get out of my house also. Uh,
Really.
yeah.
And the fifth is mom and dad. So it's like
Yeah,
there's also
yeah,
internal
yeah.
bureaucracy. Huh?
Huh.
Huh.
So what this sort of instilled in me is this like great flair for democracy. I think it is the greatest thing. Like as someone said, we gave them verandas, they gave us democracy, uh, and we gave them pajamas too. We're a democracy, and I will like, and that, yeah.
It's technically just a small segue because Cyrus of Ansha, known to history, Cyrus the Great, brought in the pajama and the trouser. I just want
Oh,
my ancestors to
oh,
get the right, yeah,
absolutely,
just a
absolutely.
second, give Iran, because Iran was
Yeah,
such a great civilization. People don't know. They think of Iran as
Iran,
this, this right wing, crazy Islamic state, which it's not.
it
But anyway,
isn't.
for another day, for
No,
another day.
no,
Yeah,
Shami kebab, pulao, biryani,
there you go.
halim. Like if we didn't have Persian influence in India, we would be eating bengan, tori, and tinda.
Oh my God. For this
Right?
alone, you should be knighted by the Queen or
Yeah, I
whoever
know.
follows the Queen, because that's
Or the
another
Shah of Iran.
Shah. Poor fellow.
Yeah,
The line
yeah,
has been cancelled. They all kept the
yeah,
surname Pelvi, so as did we. Back to you, Sir
yeah,
Abir. This is not about Iran. This is about you. Before we get notorious jailbreakers, of course, is what we want to push a little bit. You
yeah,
invented this board game. Let me get this completely correct, because no one has
yeah,
done this before. I was thinking it's a great idea, because you've got
yeah,
your monopolies and you've got your whatever, which also have a certain tenet, looking at a certain culture, money, business, etc., commerce, and for kids it really builds. A simple game like
yeah,
Monopoly or Trivial Pursuit helps the mind.
yeah.
So how come nobody thought of this? Firstly, and secondly, explain the game, please.
So this is the game. This is
The pool.
yeah.
Oh,
I walk around with this poster wherever I go. But what I'm saying is that this was a game that we decided again, um, through the journalistic method. What we realized that we are upcoming to perhaps one of the most important elections in 2019. I basically had these chits of paper in which I wanted to build a game, and I was running around from political foundation to political foundation, and I was entrusted by something called the Frederick Naumann Foundation for Freedom to build a board game on the Indian elections. So what we did was we built this like entire experience where you have the muddas of all the constituencies that we looked at. You have all the policies, manifesto positions of all political parties.
including
So
regional.
including regional. So you have the issues. So we looked at parliament questions. Then you have the solutions, which is the manifesto positions of each political
Wow.
party. And then you have your campaign card. So you can call a WhatsApp uncle. You can spread
I
fake
just,
news. You
sorry to interrupt. I just thought of something. The first people who should play the game are the members of parliament, because they have no idea what the manifestos are, and they have no idea basically
yeah,
about the history of their own parties. So that would be
yeah.
great.
So we tried. We've played with 3 4 political parties, and they're generally like quite informed. But this game was also played in Germany and presented at the Bundestag.
What is the
So
Bundestag?
the
Uh,
German parliament,
I
they
knew
wanted
that, but for those who didn't know that, the
yeah,
Bundestag is the German
yeah,
parliament. Uh,
yeah.
can you say it in
uh
German just to prove that we're speaking the truth? Yeah.
yeah. So we built this game, we played, we traveled around the country. We played with about 7,500 people last year. Then the coronavirus pandemic happened and we were all at home. And then we learned so much about democracy. So I can tell you,
How do you win? Sorry, how do you win? You the knowledge factor. Whoever gets the
no,
tallies
the one
correctly.
who no, the one who gets the largest number of seats. It's you
Oh,
lose friends.
oh,
You we were
wow. So
playing
you're
at
trading. Wow,
yeah. So we you can trade people. You can. It's a true representation. So we were playing
wow.
at that Somaiya College in Bombay,
Right.
and one kid just suddenly says like, "अब मैं जानता हूँ कि parliament में जूते चप्पल क्यों चलते हैं." Right. So that is the game. And yeah, so we've been playing. We're going to, once the lockdown lifts, we're playing again. We're building more games. We're
No,
now
I
going to
think
teach.
look at fiction and coming reality and art coming together in your board game. I mean, who would have, for me growing up 80s and 90s, who would have thought in Maharashtra politics the Shiv Sena and the Congress would come together? I mean, that was
Yeah,
just like black and white. That's just impossible. But on the board game, I'm sure all the combinations and permutations are allowed.
everything is
So the
possible.
truth of politics, which is the secularism of being a politician in terms
Yeah,
of Machiavellian terms of end justifying the means, comes through, which people don't
yeah,
believe. But when you actually see it, we have so many examples which are just ridiculous.
yeah. No, but also what is very interesting about Parliament is that like these guys fight in Parliament in the day, but go for drinks at night.
I heard that from an MP, that they
Yeah,
discuss the cricket match and all behind once the fighting is over. So it's literally you
yeah,
take it's like an actor. You do your take, So they
yeah. It's like cut,
screen
and then like,
cut
how are
cut
you?
ke baad they're all having a
Yeah,
cigarette together
yeah,
at the back, and wow.
yeah, yeah.
I
They're
wish we could
also
see that. It would
relate.
help the country.
They also related across. So like किसी की बहन किसी से शादी करी है, किसी का भाई किसी से शादी कर रहा है, and it's all just one like big family.
Won't use the word
Uh,
incest, but I get your point. But now
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I have to quickly move to notorious jailbreakers because we have a time
yeah,
limit, and since both of us talk too much, okay, I read a little bit about this notorious jailbreakers, and you got Fulan Devi and I think Bila Ranga. No, who's the other
no,
one? You got so many
she,
very well-known criminals, so to speak. Um,
yeah.
but why would you go there? What was the reason to go into that?
I love, so one
Crime,
part of me, yes, I do love crime.
or do we all like crime? Is it just
I
the truth?
it's yeah. So my thesis back in Azim Premji was also on the Indian detective. So I looked at detective fiction in India and how it emerged in the colonial period.
The Indian detective includes the world's most famous Indian detective, Mr. Arnab Goswami.
Oh, I thought
Special
no.
mention.
No, he's not a detective.
Okay, go on,
He's
go on.
yeah. So Feluda or Bomkesh. Bomkesh was
Yomkesh Bakshi, yeah.
yeah. So just looking at that, and then like my love for crime is continued. Like say for example, even like dacoits or bandits in during colonial period would go into provinces and be hailed as criminals, and they would jump back to non British controlled territory and be hailed as heroes. So there was something there. So I was always looking at it, and then I encountered the first chapter, the most interesting character I have ever met in my life, or not met but written about, is this gentleman called Daniel
Okay.
Hailey Walcott.
Oh,
He's chapter 1
right.
of the book. And so this is a gentleman who flies to India in 1962 on a contract with Air India, is traveling around making friends with chief ministers. At some point, a chief minister leaves his car light open for him to do some smuggling. He is just traveling, and
Smuggling
then
drugs or
what?
weapons?
Weapons, shotguns,
Mm.
because they used to go hunting together, and he would
Ah,
procure shotguns from things. So he gets caught in Delhi with shotgun cartridges,
hmm.
and he gets sent to Tihar, where he goes on trial for 3 months. He
Where was the
promises
chief minister influence that he had wherever? Couldn't help him?
Odisha.
Odisha. So it was too far away to help him.
It was too far away.
Hmm.
And what sort of happens is eventually he gets put in jail. He gets put on trial, and India is heading towards the war with China. And he tells India that I have two planes, use them to fight China, and but let me go. But then he's put in jail, and then he again somehow manages to convince the government of India that he's the only one who can look after his plane. So every day for 2 weeks, he puts a little bit of oil, gets into the flight on the 14th day,
Hmm.
and then flies off with some subedar running after him, and
Flights.
flies off, and then takes a chakkar of Tihar where he drops cookies, cigarettes, chocolate cakes for
For
all
the
his
others.
friends.
How sweet.
Yeah.
Huh. Huh.
And then flies to Karachi, lands and holds a press conference on the bureaucratic problems of India.
Excellent. What a smart guy.
What a great guy.
Yeah. Wow. You unearthed some gems, I can tell you. So then he obviously
Yeah.
escapes. From there, he's a free bird with his plane.
No, then he comes back to smuggle in India, and 4 years later gets arrested again,
And
and spends like 4 years in a minimum security prison, and is like
so
women
he has
come
his
and
the
go.
typical British bungalow basically for 4 years,
Yeah,
and then goes back. The
yeah,
White Sahib goes back home happy, with three children somewhere in Himachal or
Ye-
UP. Yeah,
yeah,
got
yeah,
it,
yeah,
got it,
yeah.
got it.
And then buys a ranch in the US and says that he was working for the CIA.
Wow.
So yeah, he's a character. So if anyone is listening, I really want to write this script. So
I love
uh
it already. I think it's fabulous.
yeah,
It's almost like we belong culturally. There's a parallel between us and him, because we
yeah, yeah,
also have.
yeah.
I don't use the word jugaad because it's a wrong word actually here. It's more romance. It's a romance of creativity that is being exploited. Um,
But he was like, there was an effigy of his burnt in Beirut because he was flying from Karachi to Israel to meet a girlfriend, and he saw military installations, clicked photographs, lands in Israel, gives it to them,
ooh,
and yeah,
and
so
then they
he
bomb
was,
those.
yeah,
So you went to meet his bomb and then release bombs on poor Lebanon.
yeah,
All
yeah,
right, which by the way is the most peaceful part of, ironically, right now of the Middle East.
yeah,
Okay, Abeer, we'll get into a little bit more once we get the boys in, but we have to take a quick
yeah,
break. Lots to talk about, and I also want to start a little panga between you and my good friend Amit Doshi, who's
nice.
also very rigid in his logic in a nice way. So let's bring in to meet Abeer our two friends Amit and Silverie, but after this short break.
That was a short break,
Should we
I
go?
guess. Yeah, we can start. Sorry, what was the name of the person you were talking about? I was
Walcott.
Walcott,
Walcott.
Daniel Haley Walcott
Daniel
Jr.
Haley Walcott. Wow.
So after all of this, in 2001, he is in LA and gets shot in a cocaine deal gone wrong at the age of like 80,
Wow.
right?
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so
That's
there's an
karma, but
LA,
that's karma.
yeah, uh, and there's this LA Times journalist called Joe Mozingo, who's the local stringer, and he does like old man shot dead, chota sa article, and then 2 weeks later they have a center spread in the bloody LA Times on will the real Daniel Haley Walcott Jr. please stand up? and they've traced his entire life. He's truly worthy of that.
Very interesting stuff.
All right, are we
Yeah.
back?
Yeah, I think we're back.
We're going.
We're live
we were
on.
back
We
already.
are live.
I'm just trying to figure out formally whether we're back or not. But just to quickly get some perspective on this whole thing. So this guy is actually he's like a global entrepreneur in a sense.
Yeah,
Uh,
He starts with
yeah.
India, but he's gone everywhere. I mean, you're talking about Israel, Pakistan, Lebanon.
Yeah.
US in the end. So he's just
Yeah.
all over the globe.
But he wasn't alone. There was an entire breed of people. So they were called the Buccaneers. So in another chapter in this book, you see a guy called Sidney Cotton, who was a British fighter pilot who invented reconnaissance, by the way, of using planes to go
to look at things.
Flying from Karachi to provide the erstwhile state of Hyderabad weapons, food, all of that. So you had this entire breed of these pilots who had their own planes, who were working in different parts.
When was this? What time frame? What time period was this?
So
post-independence.
Yeah, post-World War. So 50s,
Okay.
60s, 70s.
So basically the same time as you had, like, all that CIA airplanes.
Yes, so Cold War.
Around that time, yeah. Okay.
The Cold War. So I think they were manifestations of the Cold War.
So they weren't nationalists for their own country in any way. These were the first globalists in a sense, because they're not attached, from what you're saying, to any nation. They're more attached to how they can sort things out in a way where they make a profit.
It actually sounds very much like
yeah.
It sounds like the privateers who basically conquered the world, right? I mean, like the 1500, 1600 privateers who were commissioned by governments to go forth and, like,
So except for Putin and Jinping, being a nationalist doesn't earn you much money. These are the guys who really make the money. It's fantastic.
So, but the 15, 16, the period of international trade and all of that, and colonization and the triangular trade was actually carried off by the church. So you had these mercenaries who were rallied on the cry of God, gold, glory, and guts. Right. So the first was that you have to go place your God, so mass conversion. Then gold, feed back to your various countries because you were paying taxes. So, sorry, I studied history in college. So.
No, that's cool. I've always been really, the one that really fascinated me always was the Maginot Line. That thing was just like always just one of the most interesting things in the world to me, right? That some pope sitting in Italy decides that, hey, I'm going to split the world here.
Yeah.
Between these two countries and not the other countries of Europe. That was also what was interesting, right? It was split between Portugal and Spain, of all countries. Portugal.
Yeah.
Right? No Germany, no England, no France.
But we've also got the 4 C's to hate the 4 G's now. Caste, communalism, cow, cash. I mean, it's
crime.
I wouldn't just point fingers. Yeah. Sorry.
But wo bhi dhanda hai. That is also dhanda.
No, but there's a model here which I don't think people are understanding. I hope they do one day, which is sometimes nationalism comes in the way of progress. These guys, in many ways, they're making money for everyone if you're with them.
So I just wrote this sort of comic book for a cultural organization, and what we found was that right at the end or the heydays of like unified India, the British were shitting themselves. When they had to leave, they realized that they were leaving a landform which was so powerful and so large that they had to split it up. Because unified India, British India, used to call shots in Egypt. So to the extent that like a lot of policies in the British Parliament were decided by the India House. So when the time came to leave them, they had to draw these lines because a unified India stretched from Persia on one end to China on the other.
Well, so we learned well because we split it up again in 71. So, we were the best learners. Look at cricket. We really picked up a lot of things. But what a lovely book. I know we've got so much to talk about in less time. One last thing, but I think there's Sher Singh, somebody other. There's Phulan Devi. How many people?
Sher Singh Rana killed Phulan Devi.
Yeah, the one who killed Phulan Devi. But just tell us how many high-profile people have escaped jail. Give us a number.
Okay, so now this is okay. So I can't give you a number, but what I can tell you is that it is in your interest to stay in jail. For a lot of these criminals, they stay in jail. Why? Because they have a ready set of people to recruit. Khana milta hai. Har din khana milta hai. Kabhi kabad. So for example, there's this one on a Bihari criminal who would get his wife to deliver food not only for himself but all the subedars also. So it was in their interest to keep him in prison for good food.
So, like young Mr. Dubey, who passed away early this year,
Yeah.
with his back to the people shooting at him who shot him in the front. I've not
Yeah.
understood that whole exercise in
And there
physics.
was a car that flipped also.
And a car that flipped before that, and wow.
It
The
was an
best part is he was
amusement
happily
ride.
going to jail at that point when for some reason
So I
he
think
died.
the car flipped. They shot the car and it ricocheted back onto him, right? Because he was
No, so
facing
this
Yeah,
up.
in
that's it. That's it.
this
Manmohan
entire
Desai
sequence,
presents.
Exactly.
We're back in
yeah,
the
yeah,
80s.
yeah,
Fight Master Tingu sir.
yeah.
Okay, let's get on with it. Abir, you're a fascinating man. We must have 4 hours to talk to you because every subject will be much longer than what we've given you. But in the interest of this show, which I call the most stupid show ever, young Silvery will take us through some topics of the day.
Yes, this one's quite interesting. Very Mumbai centric and South Bombay centric. Muchhad Paanwala, the famous Muchhad Paanwala, has been arrested by the NCB in a drug related case. So basically, what happened was that some random person by the name of Karan Nanjiani got arrested. He's a British national who was arrested in Bombay by the
Okay,
NCB
Nanjiani, the famous comedian
in possession.
from
No,
America
no,
of
That's
Pakistani
no,
Kumail.
no.
descent.
That's
Seen, seen
That's Kumail. That's
Kumail, but
Kumail
Nanjiani
Nanjiani.
must
This
be
is
the first
Karan.
cousin. Come on, what the hell? Yeah, we can track it all the way
Yeah, could
back to the
be.
US. Yeah.
That's
Okay,
possible.
just
Yeah,
one thing
damn it.
I want to mention. I know Abeer is a Delhi boy, and but I think Amit will understand. Muchhad Paanwala was to us what Ramakant Achrekar was to Sachin Tendulkar. He was like a coach, philosopher, guide. Because every weekend, Amit Doshi, Cyrus Doshi, our types, our gangs, we would hang around, looking for ladies to look at and chew up on. Not just us. You look at Ambani's and big family members, industrialists, etc. The works,
It was everybody. I mean,
everybody.
you go there and I mean, like, you'd go hang out for like 30 minutes and there'd be like 50, 100
British Candy
cars.
was a mess after
Yeah.
after 9. I mean, it was
Yeah.
horrible.
No,
Uh,
I remember that I used to come back from work and it was like, if you don't want to stop for pan, you come from Pedder Road. You don't come from Rich Candy.
Really. So he
Yeah.
was an icon, and it's a bit sad that the icon had to. But I guess we're never happy with what we have. We need the next thing. So let's go to our expert Abeer Kapoor, who tells us in Delhi there's a much easier option for drugs through Panwalas. And what is that?
It's called Bhola Ka Gola. So it's like candy. So you
Mm.
get it in a candy thing. There's a Sadhu Baba who looks at you like this while you open it, and
So you feel
he's
enlightened.
yeah, he's saying, boy, trip,
Hmm, hmm.
Mm.
like
Exact
bam bam
words you're
bole.
quoting? Huh?
Yeah, yeah,
Anji,
yeah.
grape. Yeah.
And you mix it in your milk, you pop it neat, and then for the next couple of hours
And
you
and
just
and best part of all this is cost to company is
10 rupees
10 rupees. So Muchad, business will die very quickly. He doesn't up his ante.
post inflation. Yeah.
No, it's just another example of the nonsensical nature of our narcotics laws, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
bhang is available all over the place across the country legally. This is just another example of that.
I mean, you
The
can't go to the Kumbh
Ayush,
Mela and say, okay, listen, let's follow the law on this one. I mean,
no, the
you get
NCB has
slaughtered.
to go to the Kumbh Mela next.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it looks like it. But
Yeah.
let's get Amit in because I think as a bigger eater of pan than I was, I'm a cheapskate. So it
I
cost money.
wasn't much of a pan eater either. I mean, like, I wasn't
Yeah,
never.
but we were there because the groups
We're
wanted to
there.
go there.
The
So you're
groups
stuck with
wanted to
20
go there.
people and
Yeah.
you're always
No,
there.
and I used to smoke back then, right? So I mean, that was the place where I'd get my cigarettes from.
Correct,
So
correct.
it was a place that you'd go, right? It was a social thing.
It became a point, like
Yeah,
Scandal Point. It became another point, Muchad Point.
exactly. Yeah.
But what do you
And
think? Didn't they do well enough? I know they split the two brothers, etc., and had a fight or whatever.
more than two. There are four of them now, no?
4 of them. Oh
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
Yeah.
the
For,
two breeding
Yeah.
like rabbits.
Yeah.
there's sons and then grandsons, right? That's the thing now.
They have
Now you're
sons,
aging
grand.
us. Watch your mouth.
No, there are tons of them right
Because we
now.
know
I
the
mean,
original.
there are tons of them all around there, right? So there's,
Millions of Muchads.
but yeah, no, I mean, like, dude, it's not particularly surprising. I mean, like, but at the same time, it's disappointing that
But the NCB is also arresting people left, right, and center, not always with very corroborative sort of proof. Is
right,
it possible that they are not really?
all things are possible, but I doubt it.
You don't want to go on a
It
limb for
seems,
But
anyone.
yeah, it seems unlikely that it seems unlikely that they would do this without some sort of proof. The question isn't whether or not they're finding proof or not, right? Because I think in India today, enough marijuana consumption exists that proof is not going to be difficult to find for this kind of thing just generally. But I think the question is this a law that should be enforced the way it's being enforced, or should there be a change around that? I think that's the critical thing here.
But if we're talking
yeah,
only about marijuana, we're exciting young Silvery. The moment you mention these kind of things, suddenly his eyebrows go up, a la Rohit Roy. Go on, Silvery.
Let's not say that. My mother is watching the stream. She already commented. So
Oh boy.
saying,
Okay, then drink
so
Bonvita and get a strong body.
yeah,
Mm.
that is what Cyrus has
So
just shown.
what is really interesting about this NCB thing is that first they tried to tarnish Bollywood, now they're trying to
Yeah,
tarnish Panwalas. Who next? What occupation goes next?
that's all
They
over the
could
board. You're
pick.
right. Yeah.
They could pick
Is that the
whatever the
leftist in
occupation they
Abeer? Is
want.
that the leftist in Abeer who looks at it as a lobby and says, "How dare you hurt my
Yeah,
poor struggling panwala?"
yeah, the Rediwalas, like we must unionize at any given point.
No, but they can figure
Uh,
out whoever they want to, right? I mean, like whoever, whatever body they want to target, they can target because again,
yeah,
consumption's widespread. Consumption of marijuana in India is not
yeah.
like a small thing. It's
It's
widespread.
also promoted by the Ayush Ministry. The Ayush Ministry is now incentivizing people to grow it because it is so essential. So you have large tracts of land which will now start growing marijuana for Ayush Ministry perspective consumption. So now you can sell CBD
But
oil. You can
Ayush Ministry,
do,
as in, so it's health reasons.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So technically, we're not still going to pleasure. So that's a gray area. Is it for everything?
And the government of India has in the UN there was correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah,
there was some UN thing that was saying that and then that we must look at legalizing marijuana, and the government of India raised its hand saying, "Ha, hum karenge." And
yeah. Just
Oh,
Yeah,
last
but
month.
really?
our problem at that UN convention is the pronouncing marijuana. First, we have to get that right, and then only we can legalize it. Otherwise, everybody else is going Indian guy. So we have to be careful of that.
What Abir is talking about is last month they had a vote in the UN about
See how he knows
removing.
this. I mean, see how he knows this.
I
I
know.
read about it. I read
Mother's
about it.
watching. Huh? Ma hai baat hai. Call your
Nothing.
mother here. Call your
Adding to
mother here.
Abir's point.
All this poor guys talking about criminals who escaped prison and this and that and an entire thesis
Hey
on the
man,
world and globalization. And you did
I'm
not say
just
anything. We
yeah, I'm
mentioned
just
marijuana and you
concerned.
sprung to life.
I'm just concerned about Muchhad Paanwala. I'm like, what will he do, poor guy?
You've
That's
never even come to Beach Candy. Oh, you were
yeah.
born in Beach Candy, weren't
Yeah,
you?
yeah, no, I wasn't, but I lived in town side, and my school was in Breeze Candy, so I
Yeah,
used
you
to
went to
pass
same school
by.
as I did, which
So
was
you
right
went to
there, now
Yeah,
Muchhad,
Green
behind.
Lawns. Yeah,
but
exactly,
Green
right
Lawns is
behind.
right there. You went to Muchhad
Yeah,
or no?
must have,
I
no?
mean,
I
I
mean,
did a few times, of course. Yeah, yeah.
So you've
I
eaten
mean,
pan from him.
it wasn't. Of course, yeah, yeah.
Oh, so
It's
oh,
was
famous,
there
man.
I
anything
thought you were
funny about the
survived.
pan you ate from Muchhar?
Yeah.
Okay, we're ostracizing people. This is
Like,
geographic racism.
what?
Poor Abeer is somewhere in Delhi. They're talking about Bola ka Gola at $10, which no upmarket South Mumbai type is going to look at, but or Delhi for that matter. But
we get
like,
lots of bhang that comes in during Holi. So you have shit. You have Holi, which is an entire festival that celebrates marijuana consumption.
Mhm.
oh, you have to end it with that. Otherwise, it's cancelled. It's
Yeah,
disqualified.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
NCB everywhere.
it was pretty open when I was young and we used to roam the
Yeah,
streets, at least in Mumbai. I'm not sure about Delhi, but it was very open. Everybody was drinking and all and walking around with things in their hands, including like rich people, poor people, the works.
yeah. In Delhi University, you used to dig a bloody hole, put like thandai in it and bhang, so you could jump into this like well of bhang.
To swim.
That doesn't sound very
Hygienic.
sanitary. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
take a
all
bath.
pre-corona, pre-COVID. It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, mass bathing will take a long time to come back. Come, let's move to another
Not
story.
mass bathing,
Yeah.
it'll be now mask bathing.
Mask bathing. Only you can take your pants off, but keep the mask on.
Yeah.
Silverie, can we squeeze in a topic or two?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go one more. This one's again. So this is again quite dicey. This is GoAir recently sacked a senior pilot of theirs for just one offensive tweet. The offensive tweet was the pilot said he didn't even mention who he's talking about. He mentioned PM is an idiot. Now I know I will get backlash because you will say that I am probably the same, but I don't care. I am no one. PM is an idiot, and period. Basically, that was basically essentially the tweet. And immediately after that, GoAir fired him, saying, "Ke this goes against our company policies, and our employees have to
Yeah,
follow
see, this is a
our
very,
rules on social media as well."
this is a gray
And all.
area because when you're on Sydney cricket ground and for Australians say brown dog go home, etc., we say okay, racism, draw the line. But PM is an idiot. So I don't know where's offense, where do we draw the line, what is libel or
Yeah.
defamation? I mean, it's a very difficult thing. I don't know how you can actually judge this.
Also, he didn't even mention what PM he's talking about.
No, he's
I
obviously
also
talking
know
about.
how you can judge it.
Now,
Obviously,
Silvery, stop taking the bhang
obviously.
now before the show. Come
But
Yeah.
on. What,
No,
is he
but
really
I
going to go
know
up to
how you
BP
can
saying
judge
no?
this.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
we are guaranteed FOE by the constitution. You can say whatever you want to say.
FOE is freedom of expression for these two. Huh?
Yeah, And what the problem here, which we're not addressing as a people, is that our leadership, our politicians have become an occupied god status.
Correct.
So and also gods have occupied some other politician status, because neither can you say anything about politicians, nor can you say anything about gods.
Or
And you
historical
put
figures.
or historical figures, because like clearly like jail, and no one really wants to leave
There are
jail.
very few actual cows in our holy cows. That's the point we're trying to make here.
Abir, I would disagree with you here, right? Because what has happened to Munawar, right, in Indore, that's unforgivable. That's absolutely ridiculous. In this case, there has been no government action. This is private enterprise taking action against their employee.
They are doing it to keep the government happy.
But whatever that
they're
is,
doing it to cover their ass. It's like you sacking Silverie because he made a comment, anti-national comment, and you're worried about your outfit. It's a logistical and practical point.
Freedom of expression is a protection from government action. It is not a protection from consequences. You say something, and listen, I don't think that GoAir or Indigo or whoever it was should sack this guy, because it's a benign tweet in my opinion.
Deny the correlation between sacking the guy and fear of the government?
I am not denying it.
Property to be applied here.
I'm not denying it.
Has sacked him.
I am not denying it. But what is your recourse?
But if you legitimize this, you're creating precedents for other such situations to happen.
Also, what is abuse?
But who is legitimizing who? Legitimizing it from who? But companies are doing this anyway. This is too far.
I as an employee have the redressal right. I can go. So I can go to the labor tribunal and be like, I was unfairly sacked.
Yeah.
But
that's
if
fair.
enough companies...
But abuse, freedom of expression, isn't there a clause that you can't abuse? Personal abuse is tantamount to offensive action.
No, libel, freedom of expression, libel is different.
So you're just open to libel, is what you're saying.
That's it. In this case, no, he can be sacked. He can be sacked by his employer. Today, let's take a thing which we're all on the side of, right? All these, there have been at least 15 to 20 people fired from the idiots who attacked the Capitol in the US.
Right.
Okay. And we all think that that's great, right? All of us think that they should be fired, they should be fucked, they should be screwed. Right? Does anybody disagree with that? Right?
Okay, so you're going in an idealistic point of view.
No, I'm talking about the principle.
No, you're not. You're creating a straw man. Now the straw man.
It's the principle of the idea.
I am saying that rioting and tweeting your opinions are two very different things. Rioting has clear damage to property, clear damage to
but if we can prove that
integrity and a breaking of the rule of law.
Leads to rioting.
A secret service person has been put on suspension because she tweeted in support, or she wrote a Facebook post in support of the rioters.
But they call them insurgents. We do the same thing here. When it comes to anti-national, then all kinds of action can be taken. You use the word insurgency, that is causing civic duress against the country, internal implosion of the country. So they use that. Now, rightly or wrongly,
but
when he
this
says
guy's a private citizen.
No, but is it tantamount to insurgency, treason, anti-national?
It's not. I don't think anything should happen to that. I think the airline is wrong, but I think that this is not a violation of freedom of expression.
Kunal Kamra's case,
no, it is a violation.
Suspended him from flying on their airline, followed by a few other airlines immediately.
And that was bullshit. That was nonsense.
And the government went on record to say that we did not pick up the phone and say anything.
That is also bullshit and nonsense. But at the same time, the airline has the right to do that. That is the airline's freedom of expression.
With the freedom of expression, it's actually the reverse. They're doing it because they're worried that they have no freedom of expression.
But if you
cover their ass, it's insurance. You throw this guy out to save the company.
The second you stop it, you are denying the airline's freedom of expression. You are denying the freedom of expression
But as an intelligent person, so are we going to just play with the law and just accept it as it is, or look
we can say that it's a nonsensical step, but what you all are, what I think is
he shouldn't lose his job on a small tweet or comment.
But then who is
which
to
is
say
slightly
that?
abusive, but he could have apologized for it if that's what the.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that, Cyrus asked me right at the beginning that being a journalist in this time and covering the stories that people do, why is it scary? Because you know that there is a direct consequence of what you can write, what you can say, what you can do. Mm-hmm. This is in contravention to the freedom of expression that our constitution guarantees us. You have journalists, comedians, everyone in jail, and that creates the ground for someone like him tweeting and being cancelled, and he's losing his job. So you have to be consistent about protecting everyone equally.
But you have to protect them from government action. You cannot protect them from private action.
Of course, you have to protect them from
How can you
private
prevent them
action.
from private
Okay,
action
he's
if
looking
you're
at the letter of the law. He's looking at the letter of the law and saying the government is not. If you look at it from a translation, the government has not directly done anything. But we all know that out of fear of the government, it's been done.
right?
So both your
And
points
I
are also
think it's
valid.
nonsense. I think it's nonsense. He should not be fired. But freedom, any right that you have is a right that protects you from governments. It cannot be a right that protects you from private
What?
person.
What of the? What of
Freedom
What
of
the?
about your
expression.
labor laws? Your
uh,
labor laws protect you from abuse in private sectors.
but
You
that is
have
a law
domestic
written by.
violence laws.
But that is a
Laws mediate not only between individuals and government. The government imposes laws. Laws mediate
laws and
between people
rights are
and
What
people.
if
different
he was
generally.
just a bad pilot? I mean, that's a
That's
coincidence.
a
You know,
whole
it's in
different
that
issue.
same week.
That's a
It's
whole
in
different
the,
issue.
yeah. I mean, they'll just bury you in
when
red tape, man. They just say, look, there's so many
yeah.
other reasons. His uniform was never on. He had an affair with a stewardess. I mean, you can't win this one, bro. When the MNC decides or the company corporation decides to let you go, cut your
And is
wings,
the company wrong to do that? Yeah, they are wrong to do that. I absolutely agree that they're wrong to do that. But
but
I
he used the
don't
word
think.
idiot. Now, I'm saying if somebody calls you an idiot, it's tantamount to abuse. So then is that offensive, hence libel, hence he crossed the line?
Well,
And if he said
so
he's not the most intelligent prime minister, he could have made the same thing without sounding really terrible.
I don't know the reason why. I don't know how to answer that
Now we're
precisely.
running
But
under the assumption that idiot is a bad word.
that's exactly what I was saying, right? I mean, like that
One
we.
man's bad word is another man's okay word. You know, like I
Yeah.
don't, we don't give a damn about
Well,
idiots. Somebody might.
But what does this prove? That everyone thinks that they're walking around RPM's eggshell feeling shitty or idiot. Now,
It
like,
is
and then
that,
like,
Abeer. It is
sorry,
that. Have you
I'll
seen
whisper
Stalag
it.
17? It is that.
Yeah.
The fact of the
So you're
matter
just
is
like,
that as
he's like, yeah, he's hurt. We constantly hurt his
see, there
feelings.
are two types of comedians and writers in this country. One who try to write between the lines and be a little careful, and those who have more courage, if you want to use that word, or more reckless, if you want to use that
Yeah.
word, or just more self-belief and more idealistic like yourself. All right. And I think the difference is just that. So when you go that extra mile to make your point, and it may be well made, the consequences are that it's a bit like Sicily in the old days.
Yeah. It's also like, now you're in
Yeah.
prison.
You
Then
disappear.
you can read my book. Then you can read my book.
Where can people buy your book and where can
Yeah.
people buy your game? Actually, people in chat are asking.
Yeah, people are
Yeah.
asking. Yeah.
Let's
You
advertise
can
that.
buy my book on Amazon, and you can buy my game on Amazon in 2 weeks,
In 2 weeks.
because it takes that much time. But don't lose hope. If you want to get it right now, you can write to me at Abeer. You can write to me at the poll game. I'll put it somewhere, and you can write it to me, and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay, great. Let's go to the AMAs.
Let's go to the MAs.
Silvery man, Andheri
All
is
right.
far away. Yeah, my God.
All right. Cool.
Amit Abeer, we don't need topics. We just let him and Amit fight. Get a 45-minute show over. You know, whether fried egg is better than the scrambled egg. That'll be good enough.
Fried.
But it's bothering me, so I'm going to say it. Law defines the relationship between individual and organization as well. So, okay, I'm not going to get into theory.
No,
You're right about
I
that.
think
But freedom of expression as a right that is being provided from from by this has nothing to do with private entities. It only has to do with government suppressing speech.
if you look at it from a distance, Amit, you're right. And you can say this is the way you want to go. But
Because
we are living in a real world and the
no, but
real issues. And we know that this guy has been
see,
dropped simply because he may have crossed the line with a very powerful figure. And that powerful figure may not like, or his relationship with the airline will not be good going forward.
I don't disagree with that. I agree that he is fired for stupid reasons and he should not have been fired. But I also very strongly believe that you cannot protect people, you cannot protect freedom of expression from private actors. Because you are infringing on the private actor's speech, right? If you stop me from firing somebody, you're basically you are impacting my rights.
Yeah, if the prime
If
minister
I'm me.
invites me and Abeer to a party, and we decline to go, you're making a statement, even in that sense, an indirect statement, I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And because of these kind of situations, people think twice. And Abeer would have probably said no at the last minute, but I would have gone carrying non-veg food in my pocket because at the end of the day, I have to eat. So I'm just saying, like, you have to look at it from a practical point of view. How can you disassociate the fact, Amit, with all due respect to the law, to the fact that out of sheer fear, he's been dropped?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't. It's
AMAs.
unfair. Life sucks. The world
I
is not
think
fair. I don't disagree with
Hence, we
that.
have the left to fight.
I,
And remember, Che Guevara
Antarik
was a killer. So not all left are peaceful people.
I have a
Come.
question
and
though.
Stalin.
Oh God. And
I have a
Stalin.
question. I have a
What's
question.
left of him?
What about if it was actually mentioned in the company's policies that you can't have political opinions that might offend someone?
You're
It'll
not
be
allowed
If
mentioned.
to.
it's
It'll be
so, if you're
mentioned, not political
contractually
opinions.
bound, you cannot do it. Yeah, then they're
Yeah.
in their right to do.
No, but
Yeah.
They're
it'll
their
be in a
right
very
to.
generic way that you cannot,
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
things that's contrary to the philosophy of the airline. It's all there in any
Yeah.
corporate. Amit's
Yeah.
giving me a
Your
contract
tweets,
similar.
my tweets are personal, not
Yeah,
Yeah.
bound by that. Everyone tweets. Every
yeah.
journalist
It's all
Yeah.
a gray
has a
area.
personal.
It all depends where you want to go with it. You can easily go this way or that way. That depends on the consciousness of that particular corporation.
Yeah.
And they
So
went rather go that
They
way.
went wrong. So I mean, like, yeah. So
yeah,
you know what the appropriate action to this is? That, sorry, was it Indigo or was it Go? I thought it was
Go ahead.
Indigo,
GoAir.
but we keep
Go,
saying
Go ahead.
Go. It was
go.
Go. Okay.
Go ahead. Go
GoAir.
ahead.
So
Yeah.
so the appropriate action for us as people who disagree with this is that, hey, we should not use GoAir as far as possible. We should avoid them. That's the appropriate response from our side, right? When we
I'm
see something
quite
that they've
close
done.
to the GoAir management. It'll be difficult for me, guys.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
I
have to pick my
don't.
battles and my revolutions. I got young
I'm.
kids. He doesn't fly as a leftist. He walks everywhere. Damn you! How dare you take
Yeah.
chartered flights?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to hear both sides
I
of the story.
also.
I was the son of a lawyer. Okay, AMAs, quick
Yep.
guys.
All right. All right. AMAs. This first one comes in from Umesh Sable. He asked in the chat. Thank you, Umesh. He says, "Hey Cyrus, which of the following incidents of tokenism drives you mad? Number one, annual birthday wishes by people who rarely talk otherwise. Or number two, car boot check for any explosives by security personnel.
We've discussed both and they both suck. I'll tell you a
Both.
third spin on the birthday thing, which I don't like.
Yeah.
When you hardly know someone and you're in a public place, let's say in a club or a gym or wherever, and a third person wishes the other person happy birthday, then you're forced to wish, even though you don't feel anything, because you're in that geography, man. I die inside. I'm like, I don't even know this guy's first name. Everybody's wishing him, oh, it's a birthday. Everybody turns around, oh, it's a birthday. Who gives a fuck? Nobody even knows his name. But one guy goes and says it, and then we're all stuck with the same, oh, yeah, happy birthday. What are your plans? Some women, not to be sexist, go into what are your plans? His plans have nothing to do with you. You don't know his name. You don't know anything about this guy. What is he going to do with his plans? And what are you going to do with his plans? So, God, birthday, I appreciate when people don't wish me. I really do. I'd rather Amit wishes me because he knows me, and we work together on a daily basis, or you. I accept that. You have to, whatever. But why the fuck are we wishing everybody and sending? People have so much time. Why don't they join Abeer's movement or play his game? Makes no
I,
sense.
I love the WhatsApp birthday wish, right? The WhatsApp group birthday wish, which leads to
Yeah.
like 60 other people saying happy birthday to them.
Yeah.
That's the most fun.
And Amit, also the indirect wish, which has made people very happy. So now they're going to send you these Happy Diwali, Happy New Year things without your name attached to it. Or without, the best thing is I send a video. Video means I've done a lot of hard work. Hi, this is Chirag. Happy birthday to everyone. But what the fuck? Happy New Year to everyone. I'm like, that's it. What are you? You're a philosopher now? You started a country of your own? And we're all listening to the great man. Yeah. Hitler will now tell you something. Pay attention, write it down. This is rubbish. It's so insincere. Yeah. Why do they bother? I'd rather you don't say anything. That sincerity of not having a relationship is so much better. That's why I like Malabar Hill. Nobody talks to you. You just walk. Unless your dog does poo poo and then they look at you and say, kya kya, kya kya. Uncle, wo jo tum karta hai subah, wo karta hai. Bas. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
Abeel, you want to comment
Yep.
on this WhatsApp groups and this fake socialization that's come out?
So I'm an anomaly. I'm not part of any large forwarding groups.
Good man.
So I lead a very sort of like quiet, non-intrusive life. But
Sitaram
I love
Yechuri will be proud of you.
yeah. And I love but I do collect WhatsApp forwards because they're some of the most frightening things that you can. India ka 2035 ka drishya, and then they put some really like
Look at the positive ones. Somebody sent a
Yeah.
WhatsApp in April saying May 1st we'll be rid of the corona. They should have said 2021. At least then we could have, The positive ones are worse for me, really, because it's such crap false hope. Yeah.
But also it was announced on TV that April 15th corona will end.
In 2014, it was announced 15 lakhs for each person. I'm not getting my money. I check every day. I check the post box.
I was covering the Bihar election, and there's this like tiny Suba where there's a Nabard bank, and every day post 2014, a large number of these Asha workers and women and mothers would go to the bank and ask for their 15 lakhs. So by the end of it, during the election, they would come every day. So at 2 p.m., they knew they would come and then shut the bank and run away and open at 3 p.m.
Did you see the comedy in that? The group is called
Yeah.
Asha. And they come every day. On this alone, we build the country. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's very poignant and poetic. Lovely, absolutely. All right, can we squeeze one more fast,
Yep,
guys?
yep. This is it comes in from Tarun Kaushik. He asks, is this going to be a regular thing now? The live? Yes, man. We're going to be doing it every morning from 10 to 11 around. From 10 a.m. onwards. Please join and please like, share, subscribe, etc. Please hit the bell
Antariksh,
icon.
we
That
should
also
be
helps.
making this announcement before, like, subscribe, etc. Right? We should.
Yeah,
Yeah,
correct.
because if they see the show, they're not going to. So
Yeah.
do it always first. It's like how if you want to get your kids married, you don't show them. You just say, come, let's talk. Yeah.
All right. This one comes in from M. Arun Iyer. He says, wait, where did it go?
Written before, M. Arun Nair. Quite a
Yeah, M. Arun
regular.
Iyer. He
Yeah.
says, what do you guys think of chocolate pan? I think this was just a. Are you guys
It's
fans of
interesting.
chocolate pan?
It's
Burn
disgusting.
it. Burn it.
It's
burn
No,
it,
I love it.
disgusting.
What?
Burn it.
I love
Cancel
chocolate
it.
pan.
Hey, it's
I
a
love
secular
chocolate
society. Silverie likes it. He
Terminate.
likes it.
Terminate it like the GoAir pilot's contract.
Now you're a left sounding very fascist. Huh? No tolerance for chocolate and pan. But save the pan, generally speaking. Huh, amazing. Wow. Yeah. I don't know, but people have different tastes in this country. There's so many different tastes. I mean, Chinese bale, when it first came out, I don't know, this is just South Mumbai, it's everywhere. I thought it was a horrible concept. Until
I
one day,
kind of like it now.
I love it. But it took me a while because I
It
couldn't.
took me a while too, yeah.
Chinese bale?
Yeah.
What the hell is this? And I don't know if it's exported beyond our borders, but it became a big phenomenon in our South Mumbai areas again. Sound terrible, go this South Mumbai all the time. I mean,
You in Bombay, you have like save with Szechuan sauce. So like,
yes,
That's Chinese
you,
bale.
that's Chinese bale.
Yeah,
You basically mix the
yeah,
sauces.
yeah, Leh Ladakh and now here.
Oh, yeah. You're making a statement. Be very careful. It's all India. Yeah. Oh boy, this is scary. No, but I'm just saying that we have different tastes, and if you aren't secular about food, what are we going to say secular about? Oh, that's right, we're not secular about food. You dare eat this, you dare eat that. They'll come after you.
So talking about free business and all of that, any society, so sumptuary laws are the laws that impose what you can eat and what you cannot eat. So the moment, and history has proved that if you impose sumptuary laws, society is moved backwards.
You don't have to tell us. We have a live podcast. That means it's moved backwards. We should have had more talent on air by now. Yeah.
I have one more very good question. Can
Very
we do
quick,
one
very
more?
quick, very quick.
Yeah. This one again comes in from M. Arun Iyer. This is for Amit. He says, my friend will only buy CNG. Only buy CNG cars. With the electric car era just around the corner, will people realize the window to get petrol cars are closing and start buying their favorite performance cars?
Not yet.
I think we're a ways from the petrol car being out, but also there's
And they can't just do it en masse. It has to be phased out because you're crippling and killing industries, people's livelihood. It's not going to be easy, bro. There's going to be a lot of people fighting back against it. In an ideal world, everything will be there and they'll all have a market. But slowly, there will be a time when I think diesel and gas will just disappear.
it will
They can't
disappear
remove-
eventually.
They're having a hard time removing manual gears in cars because there's backlash.
Yeah.
Imagine removing the source of like
Forget
energy.
that. In Mumbai, we haven't been able to remove auto rickshaw drivers from auto rickshaws, which is a crime against humanity. If anybody's outside Mumbai doesn't know about it, really. Okay, are we done, guys? One of us
I
has to
think
go
we're
to work
good.
in Andheri, far, far away.
I think we're good. Yes.
All right. Abir, a real pleasure having you on.
Thank you so
Please
much.
come
Thank
on
you for
again.
having
Your
me.
views are
Thank you so
always valid. And
Yeah.
whenever the next book, before the next book, let's have you back on.
Yeah,
All right.
and that will be next year. We're working on a graphic novel on a character called Zorawar who fights the British. So a friend of mine and I, his name is Ujan, we're working
I
on
had a
that.
Punjabi friend called Zorawar, and we used to call him
Yeah.
Lucky. Again, I always ask him, what is the connection? There's no connection. Yeah.
Zorav Sachdev.
Huh? Oh, him too. You know, remember him?
Bablu. Yeah.
Bablu. He was
Yeah.
Bablu.
He
I
was
had a
Bablu.
Lucky and a Bablu, both Zorawars. Yeah, unbelievable. No connection. How did you? Well, small.
He was in my school.
Yeah, and South Mumbai. Don't start. We're so incestuous. It's scary. Ouch. Okay, Abeer.
Thank you so much.
I give you the Che Guevara salute. Was that right? Probably not.
Yeah.
It's probably this. All right, guys.
Don't do
cheers.
that.
I'm-
NCB.
NCB. I'm going to join the NCB just for safety.
Yeah.
Okay. See you.